At exactly 4 a.m. on August 16, 2025, Burkina Faso woke up to one of the most shocking discoveries in its recent history. In a large-scale special operation, personally overseen by President Ibrahim Traore, security forces intercepted 57 trucks loaded with hidden weapons and ammunition, enough firepower to arm a full-scale army. The dramatic seizure happened in the Canary region, near the border with Togo. It began when Border Patrol Commander Captain Moussa Traoré noticed something strange: a massive convoy moving slowly through back roads in the middle of the night, an hour when the area is normally silent. The timing, the route, and the sheer size of the convoy immediately raised suspicion. At first, reports suggested the trucks were carrying humanitarian aid. But who delivers aid in the dead of night, avoiding main roads? Something wasn't adding up. Without hesitation, President Traoré gave the order: intercept the convoy, but do it carefully. This may be bigger than smuggling. Special forces, led by General Ibrahim Zerbo, moved quickly. With drones and helicopters tracking the convoy, troops set up an ambush. At 4 a.m., the trap was sprung. The road was blocked, and the trucks were surrounded. Some drivers panicked and tried to escape, but within minutes, all were captured. When the first truck was opened, what they found was jaw-dropping. Beneath sacks disguised as food aid were AK-47s, M16 rifles, rocket launchers, grenades, anti-aircraft missiles, and even explosives. Every single truck was packed with weapons. Captain Traoré immediately called the president. "Mr. President, you won't believe this, these trucks could equip an entire army." Traoré's reply was firm. "Secure everything. Do not lose a single bullet. And make those drivers talk. Someone is preparing for war in Burkina Faso." Investigations revealed shocking details. Many of the drivers had no idea what they were transporting. They thought they were hauling machine parts. But the masterminds behind the operation had carefully planned every step. The trucks were sent from different locations, taking different routes, only joining together just before crossing the border to avoid suspicion. Soon, forensic experts traced the weapons' origins. Some came from the Libyan civil war, others from the conflict in Yemen, and some were brand new, straight from factories, never fired once. The estimated value? More than $700 million worth of arms. In an emergency meeting of the National Security Council, the full inventory was revealed. 25,000 AK-47 rifles, 10,000 M16 rifles, 13 million rounds of ammunition, 70,000 grenades, 2,500 rocket launchers, 400 anti-aircraft missiles, 50 tons of explosives. Burkina Faso's defense minister was stunned. This isn't just smuggling. With this firepower, you could invade a country. The interior minister added, "If these weapons had reached the wrong hands, our nation would already be in chaos. This could have fueled a coup or a long-term insurgency." President Traoré then declared, "This is not random. This is a deliberate attempt to destabilize Burkina Faso, just like what happened in Libya, Syria, and Yemen. But this time, we stopped it in time." The head of intelligence, Commander Ouedraogo, dropped another bombshell. One of the drivers revealed that the weapons were destined for secret warehouses in Ouagadougou, the capital. That's where they would have been distributed to insurgent groups. The very next morning, at the break of dawn, Operation Storm was launched in the capital. In a massive sweep, security forces carried out raids at 23 different locations simultaneously. The results were staggering. Weapons were uncovered in 17 warehouses. Even more shocking were the arrests: well-known figures, former ministers, retired generals, wealthy businessmen, and even foreign diplomats. The one thing they all had in common?
They were outspoken critics of President Ibrahim Traoré's administration. By the fourth day of the investigation, the truth began to unravel. A powerful businessman, François Bongo, cracked under pressure. Barely able to speak, he confessed. This wasn't just about weapons. The plan was set months ago. Foreign powers promised us their backing. The goal was clear: overthrow President Traoré and replace him with a pro-Western puppet government. The room fell silent. President Traoré leaned forward and asked the question everyone feared. Which foreign powers? Bongo hesitated. Then, trembling, he revealed. The planning meetings took place in Accra. Some delegates came from Abidjan. The instructions came from Paris, and the green light came from Washington. The shock in the room was overwhelming. But Bongo wasn't done. He laid out the full plan, and it was chilling. Realizing the gravity of the situation, President Traoré knew he had to expose the truth, not just to Burkina Faso, but to the entire world. Within days, he appeared on national television in a press conference that would be remembered for years. Behind him stood a mountain of the confiscated weapons, towering proof of the conspiracy. His voice was calm but firm as he began. My fellow citizens of Burkina Faso, and to the international community, 3 days ago, we intercepted the largest weapons smuggling operation in our nation's history. But this was more than smuggling, it was a coordinated plot to destroy our country from within. Holding up classified documents, he declared. Here is the proof. 47 trucks, hundreds of millions worth of military hardware. The goal? To throw Burkina Faso into chaos, to pit our people against each other, and to install a government that serves foreign masters instead of our own citizens. The press conference quickly turned into a storm of questions. A journalist from CNN stood up first. Which countries are behind this? President Traoré replied firmly. The investigation is ongoing. But what we do know is this: some of these weapons were manufactured in NATO countries. Next, BBC asked, who are the masterminds of this plot? Traoré answered. So far, 17 individuals have been arrested, including former ministers and retired generals. Our informants are speaking, and soon, the full truth will be revealed. Then, Al Jazeera pressed further. How will this impact regional security? Traoré did not hesitate. This is not just an attack on Burkina Faso. This is an attack on all of Africa. Similar plots are being uncovered in Mali, Niger, and Guinea. We must stand together. From the Russian press came another question. Will you tighten security? Traoré's voice grew stronger. Absolutely. The army is on high alert. Our borders are sealed. And most importantly, our people are united with us. Then came the moment no one expected. To close the press conference, President Traoré played a video confession from businessman François Bongo. On the screen, Bongo sat trembling, tears running down his face. His words echoed through the hall. They lied to us. They told us we were bringing democracy. But all we were doing was preparing to destroy our own country. President Traoré was right, we betrayed our people. I was wrong. And I am sorry. The room fell into stunned silence. President Traoré then spoke his final words. That is the real face of this plot, people willing to sell out their country for money and power. But they failed. And they will continue to fail, because Burkina Faso stands united. Investigators quickly followed the money trail, and it led far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. The fingerprints of this conspiracy stretched into the Gulf states and deep into Europe. It was no longer a local crisis. It was global. President Ibrahim Traoré called a second press conference. This time, his tone was fierce, his words unfiltered. The masks are off. To those who still dream of recolonizing Africa, listen carefully. We are the grandchildren of Thomas Sankara. And we will never kneel to anyone. Then came the bombshell. Holding up fresh documents, the president revealed something almost unbelievable. The conspirators had already drawn up the blueprint of a new government. A full list of ministers, new departments, even their first policy actions. Traore shook his head in disbelief. Look at the arrogance. They divided up our ministries before even toppling our government. But they forgot one thing: the people of Burkina Faso own this land, not them. The revelation was followed by another shockwave. Among those newly detained were foreign nationals, 3 French citizens, 2 British, 1 American, and 2 Israelis. All carried diplomatic passports. Yet none of them were actual diplomats. Their arrests sparked an immediate global diplomatic storm. Western governments demanded their release. But President Traore refused to back down. Carrying a diplomatic passport does not give you permission to commit crimes on our soil. On the 6th day, the accused were brought before court. The charges were serious: attempting to overthrow the state, organizing a terrorist network, weapons trafficking, and high treason. The courtroom was overflowing with citizens demanding justice. The accused looked shattered, some cried, some begged for mercy, but it was too late. The evidence was overwhelming: audio recordings, surveillance footage, financial transfers, and full confessions. Even the defense lawyers struggled to find a defense. Meanwhile, pressure from abroad mounted. Several Western nations threatened economic sanctions if the foreign suspects were not released. But Traore stood his ground. History will judge those who try to intimidate us. While Western nations applied pressure, others stepped forward to show support. Russia declared. President Traore had every right to defend his country. China went further, pledging to donate security equipment. We stand with Burkina Faso in the fight against terrorism. Turkey added. Africa's security is our security. Arms smuggling is a crime against humanity. Iran strongly condemned the plot. Imperialist powers must leave Africa alone. Democracy cannot be delivered at gunpoint. And from South America, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro praised Traore directly. Brother Traore is today's Simón Bolívar, a hero of the anti-imperialist struggle. On August 17, President Traore appeared before his people. Thousands filled the square, waiting for his words. His speech would go down in history. My dear people, he began. 1 week ago, we stopped a conspiracy against our nation. We seized 57 trucks of weapons, but more importantly, we defeated their plan. We caught those who wanted to turn us against each other. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Traore's voice carried over the sea of people. This victory is not only ours. It is Africa's victory. No one will play games with weapons on this continent again. No one will turn us into puppets. The young chanted his name. Women raised victory cries. The elderly wept with relief. Then came his most powerful words. We will melt these weapons and build schools. We will build hospitals. We will turn tools of death into tools of life. That is the true victory. By August 18th, the fate of the confiscated arsenal was decided. As promised, some weapons would be melted down and sold as scrap, with the proceeds invested in education. Others would be repurposed to strengthen Burkina Faso's own army. The rest would be destroyed permanently. But this was about more than disarming an enemy. It became a symbol of Africa's awakening. Traore had not only seized weapons, he had reclaimed the dignity of a continent. His stand sent a message across the world. Africa will write its own future.